Fine hair and oil production don't follow the rules we expect them to. While thick hair can hide grease for days, fine hair shows every trace of oil within hours, leaving many women feeling like they're trapped in an endless cycle of washing, only to wake up looking greasy again by the next evening. But what if I told you that fighting your hair's natural oil production might actually be making the problem worse? Today I'm sharing 7 gorgeous styling techniques specifically designed for mature women with fine, oil-prone hair that will not only make you look polished and put together, but actually work with your hair's natural tendencies instead of against them. These aren't temporary fixes that last until your next shampoo. These are strategic approaches that can extend the time between washes while creating volume, texture, and sophistication that enhances your natural beauty. The techniques I'm about to share come from understanding why fine hair behaves differently as we age and how hormonal changes affect both our hair texture and our scalp's oil production. Instead of viewing greasy roots as a problem to hide, we're going to learn how to redistribute that natural oil to create shine where we want it, while eliminating the appearance of grease where we don't. Tation. What makes these methods particularly effective for women over 40 is that they address not just the immediate styling challenge, but also work with the realities of mature hair, including changes in density, texture, and growth patterns. You'll discover why some popular styling advice actually backfires on fine hair, which products can transform your routine without weighing your hair down, and most importantly, how to create hairstyles that look intentionally effortless rather than accidentally greasy. By the end of this video, you'll understand why your current routine might be working against you and have 7 specific techniques you can use starting tonight to wake up with better looking hair tomorrow. If you're ready to stop feeling frustrated every time you look in the mirror and start loving your hair again, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell because these tips are going to change everything for you. Comment below and tell me how long your hair typically stays fresh after washing, because I want to help you extend that time significantly. Let's start with understanding why traditional advice fails fine hair completely. Strategic texture becomes your ally here, but it's crucial to understand the difference between good texture and bad texture. You don't want frizzy, damaged, or uncontrolled texture, which can look aging and unkempt. Instead, you want intentional movement that creates visual interest and provides gentle camouflage for areas where your skin might not be as firm as it once was. The best texture for mature women is what stylists call lived in waves or subtle movement. This means hair that has gentle bends and curves rather than being pin straight or rigidly curled. You can achieve this with techniques like braiding damp hair overnight, using texturizing products that add grip without stiffness, or employing loose curling methods that create movement rather than defined ringlets. This type of texture catches light differently throughout the day, creating dimension and depth that draws attention to the beautiful movement of your hair rather than allowing eyes to focus on static areas of your face and neck. It also provides a softer frame around your face, which is inherently more forgiving than harsh geometric lines. The 6th mistake ties into both texture and length decisions, and it's choosing hair length based on rules rather than your individual proportions. There's a persistent myth that women over 40 should cut their hair short, but this one-size-fits-all approach ignores the reality that every face and neck structure is different. Short hair can be absolutely stunning on the right person, but it can also be incredibly unforgiving if your proportions don't support it. When you remove the length and weight that hair provides, you're essentially removing a natural frame and focusing all attention on your face and neck area. If you have any concerns about a double chin or sagging neck, ultra-short styles can actually emphasize these areas rather than minimizing them. The key is understanding what length works specifically for your body proportions and face shape. Generally speaking, if you're concerned about your chin or neck area, you want some length to create vertical lines that elongate rather than horizontal lines that widen. This doesn't mean you need long hair, but it does mean being strategic about where your hair hits and how it moves around your shoulders and collarbone.
life's a rhythm, move your feet.
Most styling advice assumes you're starting with clean, freshly washed hair, but that approach completely ignores the reality of how fine hair behaves in the real world. The first gorgeous styling technique is learning to work with day two hair instead of constantly fighting it. Your hair's natural oils, when properly managed, can actually become your secret weapon for creating texture and hold that fine hair desperately needs. The key is understanding redistribution rather than elimination. When oils accumulate at your roots, they're concentrated in exactly the wrong place, making your hair look flat and greasy. But those same oils, when moved through the lengths of your hair, create the grip and texture that gives fine hair body and movement. Professional stylists have known this secret for years, which is why they often prefer working with hair that has some natural oils rather than squeaky clean strands. The technique involves using a boar bristle brush or dense paddle brush to gently distribute oils from your roots through to your mid-lengths. Start at your scalp and brush downward with firm, smooth strokes, allowing the natural oils to coat your hair shaft rather than sitting heavily at the roots. This immediately reduces the greasy appearance at your scalp while adding subtle texture throughout your hair that makes styling infinitely easier. What makes this particularly effective for mature women is that our hair naturally becomes drier and more fragile over time. Those oils that feel excessive at the roots are actually providing moisture and protection that the rest of your hair craves. By redistributing rather than constantly stripping away these oils, you're working with your hair's changing needs instead of against them. This leads directly into the second technique, which revolutionizes how you think about dry shampoo. Most women use dry shampoo as an emergency solution when their hair already looks obviously greasy, but strategic dry shampoo application can actually prevent that greasy appearance from developing in the first place, while adding the volume that fine hair struggles to maintain. The secret is applying dry shampoo to clean hair, not dirty hair. When you spray or powder dry shampoo onto freshly washed hair at the roots, you're creating a protective barrier that absorbs oils as they naturally develop throughout the day. This prevents the oils from weighing down your hair and creating that flat, lifeless appearance that makes fine hair look unhealthy. Professional makeup artists and hairstylists use this technique constantly because it creates instant texture and grip that makes styling hold better and last longer. The dry shampoo acts like a foundation for your hairstyle, giving your hair enough grit and body to maintain volume and shape throughout the day. The application technique matters enormously. Hold your dry shampoo 6 inches away from your scalp and spray or sprinkle only at the roots, focusing on areas where you typically get oily first. For most women, this means the crown area, around the hairline, and behind the ears. Work the product in with your fingertips, lifting sections of hair to ensure you're reaching the scalp rather than just coating the surface. This preventative approach means you can extend the time between washes significantly while maintaining a polished appearance. Instead of your hair looking progressively worse each day, it can actually improve as the oils blend with the dry shampoo to create natural texture and movement. The third technique builds on this foundation by transforming how you approach heat styling when working with fine, oil-prone hair. Traditional advice suggests avoiding heat to prevent damage, but strategic heat application can actually be your greatest tool for creating lasting volume and managing oil distribution effectively. The mistake most women make is using too low heat for too long, which doesn't set the style properly and can actually make fine hair look limp and lifeless. Fine hair responds better to higher heat for shorter periods because it lacks the density to hold styles created with gentler methods. When you use appropriate heat with proper protection, you can create volume and movement that lasts significantly longer than air drying or low heat styling. The technique involves sectioning your hair and using focused heat to create lift at the roots while smoothing the lengths. Start with heat protectant applied to damp hair, then use a round brush and blow dryer to lift each section straight up from the roots, directing the heat at the base of your hair rather than the lengths. This creates volume where you need it most while helping to control oil distribution by training your hair to lift away from your scalp. For women dealing with oily roots, this lifting technique serves a dual purpose. It creates the volume that fine hair lacks naturally, while also training your hair to sit in a way that allows air circulation at the scalp, which helps prevent the buildup of oils and moisture that can make your hair look greasy faster. This foundation of proper heat application opens the door to the fourth technique, which completely transforms how you think about styling products for oily, fine hair. The conventional wisdom says to avoid heavy products, but this blanket rule ignores the fact that the right products, applied in the right places, can actually absorb excess oil while adding the structure that fine hair desperately needs. The secret lies in strategic product placement rather than product avoidance. While you definitely want to keep heavy creams and oils away from your roots, lightweight texturizing products applied to the mid-lengths and ends can create the grip and hold that allows fine hair to maintain volume and style throughout the day. These products work by creating microscopic texture on each hair strand, which helps individual hairs separate and stand away from each other rather than clumping together in oily, flat sections. Clay-based products and lightweight texturizing sprays become particularly valuable because they absorb moisture and oil while adding structure. When applied correctly, they can actually help control grease by creating a barrier between your hair and the oils your scalp produces. The key is using tiny amounts and focusing on areas away from your scalp, particularly around the ears and at the nape of your neck, where hair tends to flatten first. This strategic approach extends to how you think about styling timing. Most women style their hair immediately after washing when it's completely clean, but fine hair often looks and behaves better with a small amount of natural oil for grip and texture. This leads us to the fifth technique, which involves timing your styling routine to work with your hair's natural oil cycle rather than against it. Instead of washing and styling on the same day, try washing your hair at night and styling it the next morning after your scalp has had time to produce just enough natural oil to give your hair some texture. This slight amount of oil provides the grip that fine hair lacks when it's freshly washed, allowing styles to hold better and last longer throughout the day. This approach requires a shift in thinking about cleanliness versus functionality. Your hair doesn't need to be perfectly clean to look beautiful, it needs to have the right amount of texture and movement to create the illusion of fullness and health. When you work with your hair's natural cycle, you can create styles that actually improve throughout the day rather than deteriorating. The morning styling routine becomes crucial here. Start by gently brushing through your hair to distribute any oils that have accumulated overnight, then apply your texturizing products to the lengths while avoiding the roots entirely. Use your blow dryer with a round brush to create lift and movement, focusing on training your hair to move away from your scalp rather than lying flat against it. This timing strategy also helps with the psychological aspect of dealing with oily hair. Instead of feeling like you're constantly battling grease, you start to see those natural oils as a styling tool that helps you create the texture and hold that fine hair needs to look its best. The sixth technique takes this concept even further by teaching you to embrace strategic messiness rather than fighting for perfect smoothness. Fine hair that's perfectly smooth and sleek can look flat and lifeless, especially when it starts to show oil. But intentionally tousled styles can disguise oil while creating the appearance of thicker, more voluminous hair. The art lies in creating controlled messiness that looks intentional rather than accidental. This involves techniques like scrunching your hair while it's drying to encourage natural texture, using your fingers instead of a brush for final styling touches, and learning to work with your hair's natural growth patterns rather than forcing it into unnatural positions. Texturizing techniques become essential here. After your hair is mostly dry, you can scrunch in a lightweight texturizing spray or work a small amount of texturizing paste through the ends with your fingers. The goal is to break up any uniformity in your hair and create variation in texture and movement that catches light differently throughout the day. This approach is particularly flattering for mature women because it creates a more relaxed, approachable look that doesn't appear overly styled or artificial. When your hair has natural looking texture and movement, it appears healthier and more youthful than hair that's been forced into rigid styles that fight against its natural tendencies. The beauty of strategic messiness is that it's forgiving throughout the day. As your hair naturally shifts and moves, it continues to look intentional rather than becoming disheveled. Small amounts of oil that develop during the day actually enhance the textured look, rather than destroying a perfectly smooth style that can't tolerate. This foundation of controlled texture leads us to the seventh and most transformative technique, which is mastering the art of strategic sectioning to create the illusion of thickness while cleverly disguising any areas where oil tends to accumulate first. Most women style their hair as one uniform mass, but fine hair responds dramatically better when you treat different sections with different techniques based on how they behave individually. The breakthrough comes from understanding that your hair doesn't get oily uniformly. The crown and hairline typically show oil first because these areas have the most active oil glands and the least air circulation. The hair at the back of your head and around your ears often stays fresh much longer. By adapting your styling approach to work with these natural patterns, you can create styles that look intentionally varied and textured rather than obviously greasy. The technique involves dividing your hair into zones and treating each zone according to its specific needs. For the crown area where oil appears first, focus on creating maximum lift and using techniques that keep hair elevated away from your scalp. This might mean extra dry shampoo, more aggressive root lifting during blow drying, or strategic back combing that creates space between your hair and scalp. For the areas that stay cleaner, longer, you can use different techniques that add shine and smoothness without worrying about looking greasy. This might include light oils or serums on the lengths, smoother styling techniques, or even slightly different brushing patterns that enhance natural shine rather than trying to eliminate it completely. The beauty of this zoned approach is that it creates natural-looking variation in your hairstyle. Instead of trying to make every section of your hair look identical, you're creating intentional differences that add visual interest while working with your hair's natural tendencies. This variation actually makes your hair appear thicker and more dynamic than uniform styling ever could. Advanced sectioning also allows you to experiment with different textures within the same hairstyle. You might create more volume and texture at the crown while keeping the sides smoother, or add more movement to the pieces around your face while maintaining sleekness at the back. This strategic variety prevents your hairstyle from looking flat or one-dimensional, even when you're working with the limitations of fine, oil-prone hair. What makes this approach particularly effective for mature women is that it acknowledges the realities of our changing hair while refusing to settle for styles that look like we've given up. Instead of hiding under hats or constantly apologizing for our hair, we're learning to create sophisticated looks that work with our hair's current state rather than trying to force it to behave like it did 20 years ago. The psychological impact of mastering these techniques cannot be overstated. When you understand how to work with your hair instead of constantly fighting it, your entire relationship with styling changes. You stop dreading the mirror and start looking forward to creating beautiful looks that enhance your natural features and reflect your personality. These 7 techniques work together as a complete system rather than individual tricks you use occasionally. The oil redistribution creates the foundation. Strategic dry shampoo prevents problems before they start. Proper heat application sets your style. Smart product placement adds structure without weight. Timing your routine optimizes your hair's natural cycle. Embracing texture creates forgiveness throughout the day. And zoned styling maximizes your hair's potential while minimizing its challenges. When you implement these methods consistently, you'll notice that your hair not only looks better day to day, but actually becomes healthier over time. By reducing the frequency of washing and harsh treatments while working with your hair's natural oil production, you're allowing your scalp to find its natural balance while your hair maintains better moisture and elasticity. The transformation extends beyond just appearance. When your hair looks good consistently, you feel more confident in your daily interactions, more comfortable in photos, and more willing to try new styles and techniques. You stop limiting your social activities based on when you last washed your hair and start planning your life around what you want to do rather than what your hair will allow. Most importantly, these techniques acknowledge that beautiful hair doesn't have to mean perfect hair. Some of the most gorgeous hairstyles have natural texture, intentional movement, and lived in appeal that's far more attractive than artificially perfect smoothness. When you embrace your hair's natural characteristics while using strategic techniques to enhance them, you create a look that's uniquely yours and infinitely more interesting than cookie cutter perfection. Remember, the goal isn't to completely eliminate oil or make your fine hair behave like thick hair. The goal is to create beautiful, manageable styles that work with your hair's reality while enhancing your natural beauty and confidence. These techniques give you the tools to do exactly that, starting with your very next styling session. If these 7 techniques have given you a completely new perspective on styling fine, oil-prone hair, I'd love for you to subscribe to stay updated on more tips specifically designed for women over 40 who want to look and feel their absolute best. And comment below and tell me which technique you're most excited to try first, because I love hearing about your successes and challenges as you discover what works best for your unique hair. I'll see you in the next video where we'll explore color techniques that can make fine hair appear dramatically thicker.